EA Sports just announced some huge changes for Madden 23's gameplay. EA posted a huge blog on their website earlier today that went over all of the feedback they received during the beta period of the game, and they go over the things that they have adjusted, the things they've changed, and also talk about some new things that weren't even in the beta at all. There's some really positive things that they're changing, and there's also some very questionable things, and we're gonna go over it. They also touched on franchise mode and some other game modes as well, so we have a lot to cover today. Starting with the gameplay, the first thing they go over is the biggest piece of feedback they received, the most voted on feedback, which said, don't drastically change the game, leave the coverage reaction time alone. It says here, the #1 feedback topic we received. Rest assured, Madden community, our vision of the game balance is consistent with yours, and the gameplay you experience in the closed beta is what you'll be playing on launch day. There has been polish added and bugs fixed from players' feedback to make it even better, but overall the experience will be as you played in the closed beta. Now this is very good to hear because most people were applauding the gameplay in the closed beta. No, it wasn't perfect. No, it wasn't the best Madden gameplay we've ever gotten, but it was a significant improvement over the previous years. Defense was actually playing smarter, and no, you don't really see this in their trailers that they put out, and that's always a big complaint that I have. When they post their trailer clips, they're usually trying to show off the offense. They usually have the difficulty set really low, so the defense still looks pretty awful when you look at some of the footage they've released themselves. But if you actually played the closed beta on a real difficulty like All Pro or All Madden, the defense actually played well. Their reaction time was good. They defended one-play touchdowns better. They defended things like corner routes and crossing routes much better. They jumped flat routes much better. They were just much more in tune with what was going on, and they actually had some type of awareness and play recognition. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you don't want to miss out on the other upcoming Madden 23 news videos, and of course the exclusive gameplay I will have for you guys very soon, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you don't miss those videos. The #2 most thing they heard about was referees. It said add referees back to the game / on the field. It says here, while referees returning to the field during live gameplay is not something we'll be able to deliver in Madden 23, it is something that we want to get as badly as our players. We want to make sure that when refs do return, they return in a state where the visual quality is on par with the rest of the characters on the field. Refs is very high on our future roadmap. I know this is a big deal to some people. To me, I just simply don't care because this is the way I look at it. Madden has a long list of problems, some of those that they have addressed this year, that are far more important than referees. When you add referees to the field, it's not really increasing the quality of life for the game. It's not making you want to play the game more. If the game is still bad, if the gameplay is not balanced, if it's not fun, referees being on the field is not going to make you want to turn the game on and play it. Referees, while they should be there, and while I don't understand why it's so difficult to get them there in a decent quality, it's still not going to make me want to play the game more. What's going to make me want to play the game more is making the gameplay better, adding more features to the game, adding balance to the game, and just making the game more fun. But it looks like this is very high on their future roadmap, which sounds to me like Madden 24 they'll probably be there. Play awareness. Too easy to run the same plays over and over again. We've made a number of changes since the closed beta to bring more balance to gameplay. We believe these changes will bring more variety to play calling, but we want to hear from you, our community, when the game launches to let us know how you feel about these changes. Each of these implemented changes may be further tuned via a Madden 23 title update. Here are the changes. Logic added so that when defensive backs are playing in linebacker positions, they will have slower reaction time in the running game. Removed the ability to hot route tight ends to pass block assignments when in a 2-point wide receiver stance. This is very important and we'll touch on it more in a second. They adjusted the corner route in bunch formations and the corner hot route in the hot route master and slot apprentice abilities to align with other corner routes throughout the playbook. And they made improvements to man coverage pre-snap alignment versus bunch formations. These are all very, very significant changes, especially if you are an online player. Linebackers for a few years now have not been very good in the pass game. A few years back, they used to be almost superhuman. They would jump up in the air 10 feet and they could intercept anything. They pretty much made them almost useless in coverage now, to where even if you're in good position and realistically should be able to get a pick, they don't really jump. They don't have much of a chance to get a pick. So to combat this, a lot of players use nickel sets because you can sub safeties in at linebacker and you kind of get the best of both worlds because defensive backs can jump and make plays whereas linebackers can't. Now, for a few years, people have said, please bring back linebackers being able to jump in some capacity. No, they shouldn't be able to be superhuman like they were a few years ago, but if you're in good position, you should be able to get your hands on the ball. all. Well, instead of doing that, they're just trying to nerf safeties at linebacker. So now you're adding something where if you have a safety at linebacker, they're not going to respond to the run as quickly, but they'll be better versus the pass. If you have linebackers in, they're going to be much better versus the run, but not nearly as good versus the pass. Now, to me, I think most people are still going to use safeties at linebacker because stopping the pass is the most important thing in Madden. But this is definitely going to cause some personnel decisions that are going to have to be made now, because if you got a guy that plays more balanced, you're going to have to figure out a way around this. Now here we're in Madden 22, and I want to show you what they mean when they talk about you can't block a tight end in a 2-point stance. Mainly what they're trying to do here is further nerf gun bunch because it has been the most popular formation for years. So you notice here we're in a gun bunch play. I can block Rob Gronkowski here, and why this is important is because a lot of people will max protect, which means they will block the running back and the tight end, and this makes it very hard to get pressure. And as long as you have 3 good routes on the field, you can change them up however you like, you can still have a good passing offense. Well, now if the tight end is standing up in a wide receiver stance like Rob Gronkowski, you won't be able to block him anymore. Now I'm all for change. Change is good. The meta has been way too similar year after year. We need to start making people think a little differently. So now in gun bunch, you won't be able to block the tight end while he's standing up in a wide receiver stance. However, there are still going to be ways around this. For example, if you motion over the slot receiver, for example, you're not going to have the exact same formation, but notice how now Rob Gronkowski is kind of bent over with his hands on his hips. He would be able to block now if he was in this stance because this is not a wide receiver stance. But in order to do that, you have to change things up with the formation so it won't work the exact same way it has in years past, which again is change, and it makes people have to think a little differently. But you have other formations where the tight end will still line up in more of a tight end stance, like the U-trips formation. This could potentially be a much more popular formation than it already is this year, because now you would be able to achieve the max protect out of this because the tight end is not in a wide receiver stance and he would be able to be blocked. Moving on to the corner route changes, you could see Tyler Johnson here in the slot. He has a hot routed corner route that you can get by having the slot apprentice ability for a receiver or the hot route master ability for a quarterback, which is what Tom Brady has. They're changing this, and they said it's going to align with other corner routes in the game. Now, this is considered the best corner route in the game because of the perfect way that it runs, it cuts, and the angle at which it hits the sideline. This is changing now, so this is going to be another huge change for the game because people love to use this to cook up good route combos. Now, this hot route is likely not going to be as good. It's going to be a corner that probably cuts more steeply up the field and doesn't work as well against cover 3 or man. So now, again, we're changing how people have played this game for the past few years and making them have to do stuff differently. Moving along here, pulling linemen are too slow / too indecisive. Tuning and AI changes were made to make pulling linemen be more explosive through the line of scrimmage. And on top of the foundational improvements, you'll have to keep an eye on the speed rating of the pulling lineman, as a slower offensive line could force you to lay off acceleration while he navigates, and faster offensive lines will get through quicker, allowing you to accelerate sooner in the play. So this could make certain types of runs with pulling guards better, like 0-1 traps, for example. Pass blocking isn't strong enough / there's too many insta sheds. As noted in the closed beta gridiron notes, there was a bug causing super wins to trigger too frequently early in the closed beta, which was a primary contributor to the overpowered feeling. Looking at overall defensive gameplay, having a powerful pass rush is critical to the balance of the game, and the pass rush at launch is still going to be more powerful than it was in Madden 22. So basically, you're going to get better pass rush this year. We've talked about it. They're going to get home quicker and more consistently. But there was a certain period of the beta in the first week where they were getting what were called instant wins or instant sheds, where they would just maul over the offensive lineman instantly, like every other play. That's not going to happen. Those will happen sometimes, not every other play. But in general, you're going to have less time in the pocket, which again, I think is good. You shouldn't have all day to pass. Too many fumbles. They did some tuning here. Tuning to significantly reduce the fumble chance on QB hits inside the pocket. Tuning to significantly reduce fumble chance on QB hits while in the early portion of a throw. Tuning to reduce fumbles by non-QB ball carriers on hit sticks and strip ball attempts, and significant reduction to punch out fumbles by AI controlled defenders during stand-up tackles on competitive game style. Now that last one is very important because that is a new animation they put in the game where you go into a tackle battle, but you could win the tackle battle and get some extra yards, or you can lose the tackle battle, get tackled, or also fumble. The problem is the punch out animation that would cause you to fumble in these tackle battles was happening way too much. Not enough hit stick variety. 27 new hit stick animations have been added for launch. Most of the existing animations have been updated to make them look/behave differently. Now I will say that was one of my complaints in the beta, was that you did see the same like couple of hit sticks over and over and over, and with the new hit everything system that's a part of the upgraded tackling system, you see players come in and try to knock the ball carrier back and hit more often. The CPU will come in and hit stick more often than they did in years past, and you saw the same couple ones over and over. So if they added 27 new ones, hopefully we see these new ones and not just see the same few keep getting triggered. That is definitely good for immersion and just keeping you more engaged with the game. Here's the most controversial one. Wide receivers should win more contested catches and mismatches. Tuning to increase catch success for wide receivers in contested catch situations when in a mismatch. Logic was also added to include wide receiver physical attributes such as height to play a more significant role in the success of contested catches. This is the classic simulation crowd versus competitive crowd. Simulation players want more contested catches. They want to win more one-on-ones. The competitive crowd wants less. Now the thing with this is that in years past, I think the simulation crowd had a gripe because they almost never happened. But this last year, they happened pretty consistently once they removed all of the two-man animations. If you had a tall receiver like a Mike Evans, for example, you would win a lot of one-on-ones, especially if you had some of the abilities that allowed you better catching on the outside of the field. So I don't think last year was actually that bad. I think it was actually pretty good already, and it was good in the beta as well. So to hear that they've made it better is kind of scary, because this could easily turn to being overpowered to where you can literally win a one-on-one almost every time. We'll see how this plays out, but this may wind up being something that further gets tuned once the game is released if it becomes too much of a problem. Skill-based passing can be difficult to understand. Even though it was not in the closed beta, when you first turn on the game at launch, you will have the opportunity to play through an onboarding flow to learn more about the new passing system. You will also have the opportunity to lab deeper in practice mode. And lastly, additional work has been done on the in-game feedback systems to make it even more user-friendly, such as color coding the feedback text and passing reticle to match the level of accuracy. Be on the lookout for more developer deep dives closer to launch, which will go more into detail about skill-based passing and what it can unlock in the passing game. I like to hear that they're going to be onboarding you when you play the game, because I think this is something that needs to be taught to people. It's not the easiest thing to just pick up and learn on your own. It definitely has a skill gap. It's definitely going to be tough at first. It definitely unlocks a lot more possibilities and provides a bigger skill gap if you learn how to master it. So I think people should want to learn how to master this, but I do believe at first most people are just going to use classic passing because it's what they're already comfortable with, and they're not going to want to put in the time to learn it. The ones that do put the time in will definitely receive benefits from using it though. Now let's talk about franchise. One of the biggest pieces of feedback they got were on sim stats. It says, we fixed an issue where the longest pass completion in simulations was 25 yards for whatever reason. We have also focused on tuning sim stats to try to match real life stats as closely as possible. We know that you can have a wide range of results in any sim, but our goal is to give you a realistic statistical snapshot. I feel like they talk about this every year and it hasn't really been the case, so this is one of those you have to show me at this point and not tell me. Low interest players are signing frequently during the re-sign periods. We've done several rounds of tuning in this area to try and make this more realistic in how and when players will re-sign with their current team. Salary cap. We received feedback that some teams didn't have enough salary cap space available to re-sign players and during the free agency period. We have continued to update real life player contracts as that information becomes available, along with trying to tune the amount that players will ask for during different stages. Our goal is to strike the balance between fun and challenging, especially if you are controlling a team that doesn't have much cap space at the start of your franchise. CPU draft logic. There were some reports about seeing teams drafting QBs when they already had quality starters on their team. Since the closed beta, this has been a key area of focus as we are utilizing the new player tags feature to help prevent this from happening. Now, I did see a couple people say that they saw this happening. Me personally, I simmed a ton of franchise seasons just to see if I could see it myself. I personally did not ever see it, and I simmed a ton of seasons. So obviously some people saw it, so it still happened, but I don't know if it's as big of a deal as maybe some people might have made it out to be. I guess we'll see when the game launches. I just know in my experience it didn't happen to me. High profile players in free agency. We saw players mention that they were seeing several top tier players available in free agency. We tried to help improve this in a couple of ways. We tuned player motivations to help better match the current teams to help give these teams a better chance of re-signing them. We continued to update real life player contracts for players that sign new deals to remove them from the list of potential free agents in year one of franchise. And as mentioned above, we tuned the amount of money players will ask for along with team salary cap data. And along with that, they fixed a few other bugs in franchise. Nothing that was too crazy or major, but things they cleaned up that will not be interrupting you, hopefully, when the game launches. Face of the franchise in the yard. It says here that more customization options were asked for the creative player. Our focus for customization in Madden 23 was more on the progression and skill side than visual customization, with the goal of giving players more freedom in how they use skill points per each of the available positions. We also added options to reset and respec your character's skill points and body type archetype at any time. There are a few visual customization options that we do want to mention: 6 towel placement slots, 2 new options for jersey fit, and updated gear. I mean, really, this just says to me you added a few visual customization things that we've already covered on the channel, and you mainly focused on the attributes of the player. But really what most people want is they want a good career mode and they want good customization visually. That's what people like with these types of modes. They want to customize their player to a T, and they want to actually have a good mode that feels rewarding, and right now Face of the Franchise just isn't that. Tattoos for your creative player. This level of customization is something we want to deliver as badly as our players want it, and is something in the roadmap for future iterations. And again, this is another one that kind of goes with the thing above. This is basic stuff that people want for their creative player. That's how you get people interested in this kind of a mode, when they can fully customize. To say this level of customization is something we want to deliver and it's still not here in 2022 when you had it on PS2 and every other game has this, as it's like just a basic thing that is expected in games now, is something that's frustrating to hear year after year. This isn't a crazy level of customization. This should just be standard. Again, much like refs on the field, this doesn't increase the quality of life of the game, really, no, but it's just so basic that it should be there. New plays and ways to play in the yard. Be focused on making the experience more user-friendly, allowing players to get in and out of games quicker. We also reduced the amount of campaign and solo challenges so that players will have more time to play head-to-head and co-op, in addition to ranked yard being available at launch. I mean, again, here, you're basically just saying you made a mode that is okay at best, worse. You took away some of the campaign, you took away some of the solo challenges, which are how some people want to play the mode. Things constantly get dumbed down and we just call it user-friendly. I don't think that's what a lot of people want. Yes, things should be user-friendly, but they can still be good and fun. And right now, the yard is a mode that had a lot of potential, but nothing has really been built upon since it was added 2 years ago. We don't care as much about user-friendly as we care about something being good and fun. And right now, the yard is not really that, because while I thought it was fun in the first year, you've done nothing to build upon it, and now it's just kind of boring and stale. Player locked camera angles in Face of the Franchise. All of the cinematic and traditional player locked cameras have been tuned per feedback received during the closed beta to make the views more usable and functional. We've also added a third option for each position called wide that can be toggled via the D-pad camera that will allow you to play from a view that's similar to the all 22 point of view. That's obviously a good change. I like to hear that. Let me know how you feel about this info below, and check out this video right here on the screen if you want more in-depth information on franchise mode in Madden 23.